What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, I'm still feeling the afterglow of the PlayStation 5 Pro announcement. Oh, man. I've been kind of looking at the internet this last day and day and a half. And I don't see anyone saying, wow, that's cool. All right, I can't wait to. No, everything is like, what the hell are you doing, Sony? I haven't listened to Colin Moriarty's take yet. I'm sure it's going to be magnificent. But everybody's like, nope. Who's this for? Oh, these are for the whales. Da, 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 da. Okay, so here's the thing. I know a couple videos ago I said their strategy is failing, basically. I think that's what I said. And I still stand by that. I was talking about the hardware. I was also talking about the software, their game strategy, what type of games to make, all these things, right? It's like everything that they're trying to do failing. Increasing prices. They're still doing that, by the way. Everything is a failure, right? And so, you know, you look at what Sony is now and you're like, is this the Sony that? It's not. It's a different Sony because it's a different video game landscape. But what is happening, and one of the narratives that's out there is that, oh, Microsoft, Xbox is in competition, you know, because they went third party or whatever, and they're putting all their games on PlayStation, or all their games, not really, but you know what I'm saying. And so the thing is that people are blaming the price of the new PS5 Pro on Xbox for not being competition, not being competitive enough to scare Sony into trying to, you know, keep the prices similar, right? I heard somebody say that, I forgot who they were comparing it to, but it was basically Microsoft is just sitting back and they're watching Sony hang themselves, basically. And it's kind of true. It's like, okay, like I said, Microsoft's playing 68.7D chess, whatever, right? And so they put out the $599 Xbox Series X with the sprinkles on it, whatever, 2 terabyte, $599, right? They set it up. They set the trap. Sony fell for it. I said this last video. Sony fell for it, right? Now, Xbox is sitting there like, psh, they're done. All we have to do is come out with a handheld that's comparable to like the Steam Deck. Like say if it's $399, if it's $499 and it's like more powerful than the Series S, let's just say, but not as powerful as the X. But the way that they do it is it's easily compatible with like PC and whatever future kind of API that they're going to use. It's just like one unified API. Then it's like, okay, that's the Xbox mid-gen refresh, that handheld, and then they come out with the super duper a year after that or whatever, and it's the same kind of architecture, or you know, the same API, so they don't have, it's just like a couple of flip flaps that you do on the game, and then you run it on the big boy. And now Microsoft can price their console, like everybody's scared, oh no, the next console is going to be $699 because Sony put it. Remember when the PlayStation 3 came out and it was $599 for the big boy? It was $499 for the little boy, right? That next gen was not $499. I mean, the Xbox One was, I believe, right? Because it came with Kinect. But the PlayStation was $399. So that's not really an indication, because $699, it's actually not really $699. Let's be real. It's $799 plus. Let's just say that. We'll be generous and round it down to $799. Realistically, if you're talking about a console with a disk drive, right? That's what the PlayStation 5 Pro actually costs. So if you take that and you say, okay, that's going to be the starting price of next gen, then Xbox doesn't have to follow what PlayStation is doing, although Phil Spencer did say that subsidizing consoles is kind of they're not doing that anymore for the most part, but That doesn't mean that they're going to put a super dope, powerful thing that costs too much money. I mean, that's what Sony did, or so they say. I mean, we saw the presentation. It didn't look like it was $700. That's all I'm saying. And here's the other thing. Sony priced this thing at a next-gen level, meaning if the name of this PS5 Pro was actually PlayStation 6 at $699, it would have probably went off a little bit better. But the fact that it's not that big of a leap, and then people would have looked into it like, wait, the CPU is the same? How is this next gen? So they couldn't actually do that. So Sony's trying to have their cake and eat it too, basically. They're trying to have a next gen console with a next gen price without it actually being next gen, because the CPU is the same trashy PlayStation 5 CPU. And now we look at the comparison of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 Pro, and they are so similar. They are so similar, in fact, that you could kind of compare it to the difference between the PlayStation 5 regular and the Xbox Series X is the difference between the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 Pro. Think about it that way. And in that scenario, does that little bit of power actually matter? No, it doesn't. We've seen that it doesn't matter, because most people, half of the install base on PlayStation is not even on PlayStation 5. So it definitely doesn't matter. And you think that other half, that 50% or whatever that's on PlayStation 4, you think they can actually go and buy a $700 plus, $800 new PlayStation? No. This is so hilarious. I want to see how Sony navigates through this. I would say, if history is anything to be taught by, to learn from, they're gonna follow a Nintendo. They've been following Nintendo, trying to be like, oh, we're not gonna eat any money on these consoles. We're gonna make money on every console, right? They're trying to follow Nintendo, but they don't realize that Nintendo does low power consoles, so they can do that because their consoles don't cost as much as PlayStation consoles. So there you go. And I mean, maybe they can do it if they make all Astrobot type of games, then they could do it, but they're not doing that. They just kind of messed themselves up. They painted themselves in such a great corner, and Microsoft, if Microsoft doesn't take advantage of this opportunity, PlayStation literally laid it out. It's like, look, last generation you gave us the generation, you gave it to us, you handed us the W. Here we're coming to return the favor. PlayStation is like, yo, here's the W. Do what you will with this. Microsoft, like I said, they're playing 69D chess. I hope they're paying attention, and I hope they are agile enough to be like, all right, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? We can lower the prices. We could do this. We could do that. And do something to counteract this. To curb stomp them. To back punch them. To roundhouse kick. Do something. Sweep the leg. I don't know what you want, but do something, because they literally handed you a platter to say, yo, here we go. And with the rumors that Grand Theft Auto 6 is being delayed until 2026, which could line up with something new that Xbox is putting out. Come on, son. It's like nobody's gonna, I mean, some people will buy the PlayStation 5 Pro because people are dumb. Because they're like, oh, the Amazon is selling out of the PlayStation disk drives and stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't know how many they made in the first place. Probably not enough, or probably not a lot. So of course they sold out, because that's the whole game with Sony. They're like, they do something like, oh yeah, like the PlayStation 5 all digital. They don't have, they didn't make a lot of those, okay? And now they're making, that's the default system, and you have to add on a hard drive. I mean, add on a CD or whatever. Like now it's not part of like a different, it is a different SKU technically, but it's not a different SKU as far as manufacturing, if that makes any sense. So they don't incur any different type of costs when it comes to making it now, because it's part of the overall ecosystem in that it's interchangeable. So they can have one, it's just packaging that's different, that's all. So it's minimal cost to them. But they're not making a lot of things that they don't sell a lot of. Let's just say that. Like, are they making PlayStation VR2s anymore? No, they're not. They weren't selling a lot of them, so they're not making a lot of them. Same with the PlayStation Portal. They say, oh yeah, we making all these, it's selling out and all this stuff. I'm like, okay. Then Matt Piscatello comes out and says, yeah, it's about 3% of the PlayStation fan base that has those. I'm like, wait a second, 3% of 60 million, let's just say. So what is that, 2 million or something like that? Come on, son. Come on, son. Is that, I mean, depending on how much they making on each console, on each unit, man, it's so bad. They're so bass backwards, and the proof is not in what I'm saying. Okay, the proof is in, go on YouTube and look up PlayStation 5 Pro. Look that up, and you will see all the different videos. I watched RGT's 885, his freaking. I watched what was it, Clownfish or whatever his name is. I watched like most. I watched Dirts, of course. I watched Sean talk about it. I watched a whole bunch of different. Did I watch Asmongold? I think I did watch Asmongold. I watched Luke Stevens. I watched a whole bunch, and none of them were positive. I even watched the IGN joint, the IGN console, next gen console watch, or whatever that's called. This goofy ass show. They were negative too. Max Scoville don't care. Max is like, yo, he's a clown. He's the Asperger king. He's got Asperger's, and I mean, I'm not making fun of him. He's he said it before. He's like, but that doesn't make him any like less capable of doing anything. He just looks at things differently, and he's real funny. So it's like for me, I say like people with Asperger's have kind of a superpower because they can look at the world differently, and they're usually quick-witted. So, but anyway, he was there and he's like, this isn't worth it. What are you doing, Sony? It's kind of like they're reading the script. Like, remember I said, oh, everybody's reading the script, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like that, but in the negative towards Sony. So it's glorious. Hello. And so I'm like, I don't understand the few people who are still trying to cap and defend this. J-Dub's one of them. He's a knucklehead. And that kind of makes me think about, well, is he really just playing the role? Is he really trolling, or is he really just a dumbass? You know, figuratively speaking, of course. I'm like, I never really took him seriously to begin with, so I can't really listen to what he says. I mean, I do anyway. I hear kind of snippets or whatever, and I'm like, no, because the latest thing he said, I think it was him. He was talking to, I forgot who he was talking to, but he said, paraphrasing, of course, he said, we have to stop complaining about stuff costing a lot of money. How are we gonna expect more if we don't want to like pay for it? I mean, I'm, like I said, paraphrasing, you know, and when we get what we get, we say, oh, it's not enough. And when we get too much, we say, oh, I'm not gonna buy that. It's something like that. I was like, that has nothing to do with what's going on. They overpriced what they are selling. Now, I don't know what the breakdown is. Maybe they didn't, or I don't know what it is. I know the price of chips have gone up, so maybe it is accurate as far as them not losing money on each unit. But I would say they, meaning Sony, PlayStation, needs to be transparent. They need to be like, look, this is how much a PlayStation 5 Pro costs to make. If it's $689, then I'll be like, all right, well, you're making $10 a unit. Not really, because you got to shipping and all that stuff. So actually, it can't be that much. It has to be cheaper because you got to think about manufacturing, packaging, shipping, and then whatever the stores are going to make. So I would say it may be closer to $650 or $660 or something like that. Maybe there's a $20 kind of area there where people can make some money, but I don't know. So that's where I'm wondering where they come up with that number. You know, it seems high for what you're getting. And so, you know, look, I told you before, this is the end. You know, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody not in the chat. I'm sorry, in the comments that are, you know, basically saying, yo, this is the downfall of PlayStation. This is, I told y'all before. I was like, look, pay attention to the behavior. See what they're doing. They've been raising prices all along this whole generation. Relentless. A couple of days ago, they raised prices on controllers for $5. I'm like, really? And everybody was like, really? And they did it sneakily too. I didn't even know until there was I forgot who did the actual article. And I found out on like a video, like, what, huh? I mean, because I'm not in the ecosystem like that, but I'm still, it's like, really? That's what y'all are just, you know. And now I keep hearing a bunch of content creators talking about, yeah, Sony's nickel and diamond. Sony. Everybody is turning on PlayStation. This is bad for PlayStation. Now, certain people say, oh, any news is good, any, you know, publicity is good publicity. No, it's not, because if you get known as the bad company, that's what it's going to be. The only thing that switches that around is if they put out a good game. You saw what happened. They put out Concord, the worst AAA game ever put out by a first-party AAA, one of the big threes. Worst. They put out the worst game. Astrobot comes out 2 weeks later. Everybody got amnesia. Huh? What? Astrobot, yay! And then this happens. PS5 Pro. Everybody got amnesia about Astrobot real quick because everybody's talking about this. Nobody cares about Astrobot anymore. It's like, oh yeah, that's a cool cartoony game. But let's talk about this PS5 Pro though. What other games does PlayStation have to counteract this down? There was a meme. It was like Concord is like way down here on the graph, and then Astrobot, yay! I'm doing it the wrong way. Concord's down here, Astrobot, yay! And then PS5 Pro back down. And I forgot there was captions on it. I forgot what it said, but I was like, yeah, basically that's what happened. Did it go as low as Concord? No. Not really, because it's a different kind of low. It's a, like, you don't really understand your audience low. It's about, you can't read the room low. You're not reading in the room. And the thing about that is, Sony, people are saying, oh, they're reading the room. They say they're. It's like, no. Sony's not reading the room. Sony is listening to the vocal minority. They're listening to these idiot fanboys, donkey unicorns, and ponies, right? Saying, oh, do this and do that, blah, 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 right? It's all about power, blah, blah, blah. But they have the metrics. They said 3/4 of the people on PlayStations do performance over fidelity. I'm like, yeah, we've been saying that for so long. It's about frames. It's not about graphics. How pretty your graphics. It looks so graphic. Oh, we want movie-like experience. That's why it's 30 frames. You know what? Todd Howard tried to do that, and Ninja Theory tried to do that too, and people backlashed. And Microsoft needs to take notes and say, all right, you know what? I mean, you could what's happening at Microsoft is different because they say, okay, we're prioritizing 30. The messaging is wrong, but they're prioritizing 30. They come back with 60 later. That's what they did with Starfield. And hopefully they do it with Hellblade, but who knows? We'll see. But they need to not be like, oh, this is what we plan all. No. You say we're prioritizing 30. We'll come back. The plan is to come back and we'll see what we can do with 60. Now, they did say that with Avowed, so it's all good, you know? So, but they said, yeah, 30, we're going to try, could make it all juicy, but then we have to see what we could do when we get there, you know? So I was like, all right, cool. So that's leaving the door open. That's what you're supposed to do, you know what I mean? Get the game out in a good state, and then, you know, you do the extra credit later. But the PlayStation 5 Pro is a mistake. When Phil said they don't need to do a mid-gen console, a mid-gen upgrade, a mid-gen refresh, he was right. Phil was right. And PlayStation's wrong. Sony was wrong. And I'm saying this, you know, a day after they announced it. And remember, this is about public sentiment. And if you look at what happened to Concord, right? Concord was announced. Jiggleburger, like, what's Concord? Who knows? Okay, we'll see. I'm excited, yay, right? Then they showed the whatchamacallit, and then they showed the trailer of the gameplay, and everybody was like, hell to the nah. Like, I don't want to play that. Everybody was like, Then the beta came out, the paid beta. Barely anybody played it. Not a lot of traffic. Then the free open beta, if you have PSN. Nobody barely played it. Sign after sign after sign that this is a bad idea, bad game, nobody's gonna play it. Guess what happened? Concore's dead 2 weeks after its launch. 10 days after its launch. Dead. Recalled. The same thing is starting to happen with the PlayStation 5 Pro. And here is the similarity to Xbox One. When the Xbox One had their, Xbox One's coming out later this year, blah, blah, blah. They said TV, and everybody was memeing it and saying, whatever, it looks like a giant VCR, blah, 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 right? Nobody was like feeling it. Everybody was like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The thing is that people are having a worse reaction to the PlayStation 5 Pro than they did the Xbox One. Xbox One failed because of how they introduced it. That first, look, if you will. And it wasn't because of the games. It was because, it's not as powerful. And then the word came out that, the devs aren't really backing it. They're backing PlayStation because it's more powerful, it's easier to use, or I don't know if it's easier to use, but all these things, right? And so I'm looking at the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I'm like, it feels similar because like everybody who's talking about it, they're not feeling it. Devs are being required to make PlayStation 5 Pro. Any game that they put out has to be PlayStation 5 Pro compliant. I will say, utilize the power, if you will. And I'm like, so now you're forcing devs to work extra on this new system that you're putting out, that you can barely see the difference in anything on your own games. And also, you put out, you're presenting a new console with no new games. All these games are old ass games. Everybody's played them. No, everybody said that's what Max Schofield said. Everybody's saying that. I was like, look, if you're gonna show something new, you gotta show something new on your something new. If you showed they literally showed mostly PlayStation 4 games, because most of those games are cross-platform. I know somebody in Twitter said, wow, they showing PlayStation 4 games to show off the power of the PlayStation 5 Pro. And then somebody in my comments said, PlayStation, it's just a PlayStation 4 Pro. Is it 3? Yeah, it's 3. Because the PlayStation 5 is the PlayStation Pro. And this one is the PlayStation 4 Pro. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. I'm rambling now. Appreciate y'all hanging out, y'all. Let me like and subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about the strategies, once again, of the PlayStation. Is the PlayStation 5 Pro a good idea? Will it sell anything? Is it gonna beat? I said in the last video it won't beat what the PlayStation 4 Pro did. Will it beat what the PlayStation 4 Pro did? I don't think so. I would say the only thing that may help it is that they might lower the prices. Like, it's a sale, it's $649 now for a limited time or something, something like that. But yeah, they set themselves up for failure. And I mean, either it's genius or it's not. And last thing, consequently, they announced a refurbished console, pop system thing, where they say, factory refurbished PlayStation 5s go for, I guess they started at $349 or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing. So you get a recalled or refurbished factory refurbished PlayStation 5 for a cheaper price. So a lot of people who want to upgrade will do that instead of $600 or $400, $450, So, I mean, that's kind of smart, but how many do they have of those, And I guess they can advertise starting from $349, but that's disingenuous. But anyway, appreciate y'all hanging out, like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments, you know how we do. Still working on the music. Hopefully by the end of this month, we're gonna have the first one out. I'm working on it, and that's it. I appreciate. Catch you on the next one. Tilt the weed.